Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. I have done another video on our channel talking about this duel, this combat, if you will, between Bernie Sanders, the independent from Vermont, and Senator Joe Manchin, the conservative Democrat from West Virginia. Well, folks, in a brand new interview, Bernie Sanders expressed his frustration with Joe Manchin and the fact that Joe Manchin is holding up the entire Democratic agenda. In fact, Bernie Sanders said this: when you've got the overwhelming majority of the American people, the overwhelming majority of the Democratic House and the Senate caucus, when you've got the President of the United States, it's not a 50-50 deal. Basically saying, hey, when most of the American people want this, it should get done. When most of the Democrats want this, it should get done. When the president wants this meaning the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill, which does require the support of Joe Manchin and Senator Kristen Sinema, it should get done. In other words, Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema should not hold this up. Let's roll the tape and hear Rachel Maddow speaking with the one and only Bernie Sanders. Let's roll the tape and watch.
You always speak your mind. You never leave any ambiguity or shadow or gray area in terms of what you want and what you're seeking and why. Still, though, it was remarkable to hear your blunt language today about your Senate Democratic colleague, about Senator Manchin, and how you feel like he's essentially behaving in an unfair way. What led you to that point today?
Well, I think there is a growing frustration, not only in the Congress, but among the American people, that now is the time, Rachel, for us to try to restore the faith of the American people in their democracy and in their government, that we, in fact, can do meaningful things for them, that we can improve their lives. And all that we are trying to do in many ways is to do what countries all over the world are doing. Is it really very radical to say that older people in America should not have rotting teeth in their mouth, or should not be able to afford hearing aids or eyeglasses, or that disabled people should be able to stay home and get the care they need at home rather than be forced into a nursing home? Or that working families should pay 20, 25, 30% of their income for childcare. And then when you deal with the issue of climate, just last week, scientists working on climate change got the Nobel Prize. Climate change is the existential threat to our planet. We cannot walk away from that issue and then go back to our kids and grandchildren and say, we couldn't do it. This is the future of the planet. So I am tired of the generalities, hearing what Mr. Manchin and, frankly, Ms. Sinema are saying. And if they want to negotiate, let's negotiate. But when you got the overwhelming majority of the American people, the overwhelming majority of the Democratic House and Senate caucus, when you got the President of the United States, it's not a 50-50 deal. Mr. Manchin deserves to be heard. He deserves to get some compromises. But it is wrong for one or two people to think that they can dictate the outcome of this process.
Now, in another segment, Bernie said something that was extremely interesting. He said one of the problems that we have is that we're not quite clear what either of them want. It's very clear that Sanders is frustrated with contradictory statements from Senators Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, basically saying, hey, okay, you're opposing this, but what is it that you want? Don't be vague. Tell us exactly what you want. Is this about climate change? Is this about energy? And of course, Bernie Sanders did talk about climate change in the previous segment, and he'll refer to climate change once again in this segment. But again, it's all about knowing what the other side wants. And ironically, in this situation, the other side is not Republicans. The other side, as far as Bernie Sanders and the Democrats are concerned, are two Democrats. One, Senator Joe Manchin, and two, Senator Kristen Sinema. Let's roll the tape and see the frustration that Bernie Sanders has with the fact that they're not quite clear what either of these two senators want. Let's roll the tape and watch.
Is it possible here that part of the problem is that Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema, who you, I believe, rightfully pointed out today, have been very vague about what it is they want, that they might actually want different and contradictory things? I say that thinking specifically about climate. At least in the abstract, Senator Sinema keeps saying that she cares a lot about climate and wants to do a lot on climate change mitigation efforts. Senator Manchin seems to be in sort of an opposite position, and especially because of his past association with fossil fuel and coal companies. Is it possible that they both have do or die things that they're going to insist on that are contradictory, and so there's no way to even please them, even if you tried to give in to both of them?
Well, one of the problems that we have is we're not quite clear about what either of them wants. I think that you are right. According to press reports, Senator Sinema is not unsympathetic to doing something on climate. On the other hand, according to press reports, are they true or not? I don't know. But the press says she does not want Medicare to negotiate prescription drug prices, despite the fact that 90% of the American people want to lower prescription drug costs in America, and that she doesn't want to have increased taxes on the very wealthy. Is that true? I don't know. But that's one of the problems, is that we hear this from third parties, and we haven't heard that directly from her, nor have we heard the specifics in terms of what Manchin wants. So I think what we are going to have to do, and I think there's a growing feeling in the caucus to do this, is to sit down in the room and say, okay, you really want to cut childcare? You want to not have pre-K? Do you really think that we should not expand Medicare or make sure that people who today have no insurance in Republican states get an expansion of Medicaid? Is that what you think? Do you think we should not have tuition-free community colleges so kids can get the training that they need to go out and get the good-paying jobs that are sitting out there unfilled right now? You know, we need that type of specificity in order to negotiate appropriately. We don't have it right now.
Now, one interesting segment, and I did report this yesterday on our channel, is that the definition of entitlement is something that Joe Manchin pointed out to and said, hey, I don't want an entitlement society like Bernie Sanders wants. In fact, that was reported by Burgess Everett, the co-congressional bureau chief of Politico, and I did break that news on our channel yesterday. However, Bernie Sanders said this. He said, let's not use the phrase entitlement society, because in fact, he never used that phrase. But he said, as long as Senator Manchin is bringing it up, let's discuss it. He asks, should Americans be entitled to a basic standard of living, to basic health care, to affordable prescription drugs, and many, many other things? Let's hear Bernie Sanders being the champion of the people as he essentially engages in a public battle with his own senator from the Democratic Party. I mean, technically, Bernie Sanders is an independent, but he votes with the Democrats. Let's listen to Bernie Sanders as he essentially goes to war, if you will, with Joe Manchin out in the open, in full public view. I believe these guys should just get together and try and work something out, and I do believe that they eventually will. But let's roll the tape and hear what Sanders had to say about entitlement society. Let's roll the tape and watch.
I was struck by the fact that after you gave your press conference today and talked about Senator Manchin by name in such specific terms, he put out a statement saying that you and he have very different political beliefs, and that he thinks that you want America to be an entitlement society, where he doesn't want that. He wants what he called a compassionate and rewarding society. It's an unusual dynamic playing out sort of effectively through the press. With you at this press conference and him in this written statement today, are the two of you going to eventually get together face to face and talk this out personally? Will that part of be the way this resolves?
Well, it's not just me. We do meet. He's part of leadership. I'm part of the Democratic leadership. Every week we sit down, and these issues do coming up. I'm not quite sure, and we need Mr. Manchin, Senator Manchin, to help us out here, what a compassionate and rewarding society is about. Does that mean addressing the reality that 600,000 people in America are homeless? Does it mean dealing with the grotesque level of income and wealth inequality that we have? Does it mean, dealing with the fact that 1 out of 4 Americans can't fill the prescriptions that their doctors write because the price of drugs in this country is in some cases 10 times higher than it is in Canada and other countries? So we need some specificity. Now, he wants to say, I believe in an entitlement society. I would not look at it, use that phraseology. I do believe in a nation based on economic, social, racial, and environmental justice. Yeah. Frankly, I admit it. You got it right here on your show. I believe that all Americans are entitled as human beings to health care. I believe people are entitled to quality education regardless of their income. I believe that people are entitled to affordable housing. I don't believe that 2 people are entitled to own more wealth than the bottom 40% of American society. And by the way, one of the things that's playing out here, Rachel, and I don't think the media has paid appropriate attention to it, is in the midst of all of this, the ruling class of this country, and that is the drug companies, the insurance companies, fossil fuel industry, they're spending hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Pharmaceutical industry has 1,500 paid lobbyists on Capitol Hill, 3 lobbyists for every member of Congress, so that we don't raise prescription drugs. So this is a pivotal moment in American history, it seems to me, really. And I'm going to continue to fight, as I have for working families, and do my best to prevent this country from moving in an authoritarian direction, because you got so many people out there. They're working long hours for lower wages. Their kids are going nowhere in a hurry. They can't take care of their parents. And they are saying, does the United States government care about me, or are they only worried about their campaign contributions from wealthy individuals? So this is not only trying to improve life for working families who are really struggling to keep their ends together. It is whether or not we retain a democracy in which government works for all, and not just the very wealthy and the powerful.
So folks, there you have it, this ongoing public battle between Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. Please click the like button. Please click subscribe. Please enable notifications. Let me know whether you agree with Bernie or whether you agree with Joe Manchin and where you stand on this complex subject. I believe that Americans who need help the most should get it, because as a country, we are technically the richest country in the world, even though we are almost $30 trillion in debt. That's a subject for a different episode of Ignition Time. But we have the kind of resources, we have the kind of financial capability that no other country in the world has. And therefore, those who need help the most should get it, because some of us are very rich and many of us are doing just fine. Please click the like button. Please click subscribe. Please enable notifications. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.